The person that's on party staff is question about
Okay, the time is now 6:01, and I'll call this Borough Council meeting May 14th, 2026 to order. We'll begin with a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor James.
Thank you, Mayor Schultz. This is my first moment of silence since I've had the privilege of assuming the position here on the Carlisle Borough Council. And for today's moment of silence, I would like us to reflect on the power of community. At our last borough workshop, we had the privilege of hearing from a number of outside agencies, which are really the bedrock of Carlisle and the surrounding community. And for me, it was emblematic of the strength that we have here in Carlisle and the commitment we have to service, and a reminder that if you are ever in need, that there are resources here in Carlisle and that your neighbors are there to support you and reach out a hand to make sure that we are all successful and that we all rise together. And really, I think it speaks great volumes on our community, the people here today, the people in the outside agencies, and everyone involved, that we have such great organizations. So please take a moment to reflect on the resources you have and how we can better serve this community. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, the roll call, please.
Ms. James.
Here.
Ms. Mellon.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Perry.
Here.
Ms. Roos.
Here.
Mr. Shine.
Here.
Mr. Stubbe.
Here.
Mayor Schultz.
Here. Move on to opportunity for citizens and visitors to be heard. So before we go to public comment, we have a presentation from our partner at Penn State Anti-Racist Development Institute. We've gotten the contract moving along finally, and after some delay, it takes some time up at University Park, and we're rolling along now. So, Mrs. Stallworth.
Thank you, Mayor Schultz. Tawanda Stallworth, Program Manager for the Anti-Racist Development Institute at Penn State Dickinson Law, and I am fortunate and honored to share a brief report of how we have been progressing thus far. And so we are fortunate to still operate with a scale-up programming in cooperation with Penn State University, University Park, including all 25 colleges, campuses, and units. And in that pod work, we do have a pod specifically focused on community engagement, and we are fortunate to have Deputy Mayor Perry as a member of that pod unit. And so what that pod really services to do is to strengthen community engagement endeavors. We've done so with Lincoln School District out by Philadelphia, and we have some pending projects across the Commonwealth as well. The reason that I mention that is it's a real opportunity and really niche fit for what this borough is looking to do in terms of its work with the Anti-Racist Development Institute in implementing the Hallmark Design Thinking methodology to incorporate community engagement methods. So we are very humbled, really, and honored and fortunate for this partnership. I think in today's climate, it's no surprise that that the terms like diversity, equity, and inclusion oftentimes come under attack. But what we are looking at is institutional anti-racism. And as we define that, we are looking at a three-pillar operation of that definition, which includes acknowledgement is the first pillar. And acknowledgement does not necessitate agreement. Acknowledgement just means that we acknowledge a thing, we acknowledge facts, we acknowledge history, and we acknowledge the context in which people are living. The second pillar that we'll operate under is uh, it's in the academy we call it critical pedagogy. It's really just a process of teaching and learning, of sharing and receiving information, and that's a cyclical process. It's ongoing. And then the third pillar of that institutional anti-racism definition is to take action. And so around those three pillars, we implement the design thinking methodology, and we look forward to doing that here in this community. I'm really excited about it because I can wear two hats, both as the program manager and also as a resident of this borough, and one who has traveled with the borough's leadership through the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and implementation of some of those recommendations, the potential implementation of some of those recommendations, and now looking at how can we further do that. So we're really excited about working with the borough leadership, with staff and identified community partners to engage in that methodology here coming up soon, I believe in the next quarter. So I'm available for any questions if anybody has any.
Does council have any questions? Yeah, I'll just note one of the last recommendations I think in the Truth and Reconciliation from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was to find a partner like this to engage in these efforts. So we're excited to be able to move forward with this.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that this methodology has been tested out. It's been proven, including standing up the first in the nation race and equal protection of the law course at Penn State Dickinson Law. Penn State Dickinson Law hosts the first ever in the nation Associate Dean of Anti-Racism and Critical Pedagogy. And those things are happening right here in this community. And I can say, on behalf of Dean Conway, that it has always been part of her vision to infuse what the law school has into the community. How can the broader community benefit from the work that's taking place at the law school? So I'm excited to be that conduit, and I'm excited to help move those efforts forward here in this borough.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next is an opportunity for anyone here today or by Zoom, to the extent we have anybody by Zoom. Not yet. Okay. Anybody here in Borough Hall who would like to provide any public comment on any item before us? Kitsy, we know who you are, but we need your name and address for the minutes.
Good evening to the Borough Council. Thank you for this open meeting. My name is Kitsy Chappelle. I am with the Learning Tree of Pennsylvania. I'm here to address council about the property that is located at 228 Northwest Street, the vacant maintenance building that sits right by the community garden. So I've been going over this all day, so bear with me here a little bit. Things are changing, and so in April of 2025, we approached the borough about the community garden. That was a success. It was great. It was a no-brainer that there's a building that sits right beside it, which is 228. We thought that would be a great location for a community center, because with Hope Station moving in a different direction, rebranding itself, not just to commit to community, but also countywide. So that left a lot of vacancy for programs for our kids, for seniors. There was no indoor space for our kids. So it was a no-brainer to have the facility available. The borough was not utilizing it. It's, like I said, it sat vacant. So some of our community members had come and said, hey, look, why don't we look into doing a community center? Okay, let's do it. So I did get back in touch with the borough. It was suggested that they were looking for a nonprofit, 501c3, someone that was going to be insured, someone that was community based, and to submit a proposal, in which I did in August of 2025. I submitted the proposal. I stayed in contact with the borough, told them that, like, look, this is what we're trying to do. This is what we're doing. We're moving. Community is excited. The garden, we just have our residents that are like, yes, this is going to happen. So I submitted, like I said, the proposal in August of 2025, um, with the understanding that we were going to reach some kind of agreement about the building, that there would be some kind of discussion regarding the space and how to utilize the space. So from April 2025 into the present, we have definitely had the community garden. We have hosted a holiday bazaar in December. We had a mental health for the Black community, for men, in February. We have done a share circle. And then for this month, we are partnering with the Historical Society and Lincoln Cemetery so that we will memorialize those that are buried at Lincoln Cemetery. So we are moving, community is moving. Um, so, with that in mind, we're thinking that yes, the borough is in agreement with this property and that we're going to move along and maybe lease this property or do something with this property that will become our community center. We've cleaned the building out. We've donated all the supplies that are in there. We cleaned bathrooms. We did the floors. We made sure that that facility was cleaned, under the understanding that, yes, this is going to be a partnership between the community and the community center. We also have partners from the community. From speaking about this being a community center, I've been in touch with, of course, the Historical Society, the Carlisle Theater, Dickinson College Africana Studies program has offered to have interns come over the summer and when they come back from school. Also, Dickinson College, the Food Studies program, Post 826, Post 101, Leetort Masonic Lodge, Shiloh, Bethel, West Street, and Harvest churches. Dickinson, the provost, from the Curriculum Studies Department, we have been in conversation because we were discussing about kids going up to audit classes at Dickinson. That's very important to get our kids interested in education. Partnership for a Better Health, Penn State Extension, they have graciously come in and said, look, we are going to be able to do some training, help with the garden, help with any kind of workshop that you would like to have, and Community Alliance. And of course, the borough of Carlisle has been extremely supportive in most ways, okay? Um, the Learning Tree has secured a strong board. We have now recently received our 501c3 status, and we are fully insured. And we have also created a web page, and I'll send that out to you whenever so that you get a chance to look at it. Is my time almost up?
Go ahead, Kitsy. You can
Oh,
sum it up. Yeah.
okay. However, due to the board, to the council, it seems like the position has changed. And so that's why I'm here today. I know that ADI is involved, and one of the suggestions was that ADI would come in and would do a workshop or however they wanted to present it. My conversation with the borough has been the Learning Tree and ADI are two separate entities. I'm not saying that ADI cannot come in and facilitate any kind of workshop that they want to do, but we are a separate entity. We are not looking to be the banner, actually, to carry out racism, anti-racist. We live it every day within our community. And so therefore, I don't want ADI to come into the community and have this banner that we are now trying to figure out where racism started. What are the barriers? What is the root cause? And we get that. Like I said, we live it. We live it every day. And so for me, that's my take on it. And so therefore, what I'm saying is because it has changed, we have now been offered just priority agreement, which allows us just to use it when we need to use it. Well, what I'm saying back to the council is, how can we become sustainable within our own community if we don't have a space? I came back and said, how about leasing from May to August? That way we at least can keep a count on our kids. We can get some programs started until all of this is figured out. That was a wash as well. I then came back with the priority agreement saying, hey, look, how about we take the office space then? That way, at least whoever wants to use the facility, they can use the facility. At least we will still be a mainstay within the community and promote programs and events. That's not possible either. So I'm here because this center represents us. It represents the community. Our community in the Memorial Park area has been purged. There is no access for our kids to even go to the Y because it's unobtainable for most families to afford a Y membership. The community center, the Stewart Community Center, you still have to pay to get in or to reserve space. The warehouse has all of that. It has room for our kids to learn. It has room for our seniors. It has room for everything within our community. So I'm just here to say that I would like the facility at 228 Northwest to become a community center for our residents in our community. Any questions? Now my mouth is all dry.
Does council have any questions? No. Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to just sort of organize public comment? Anybody else who would like to be heard on the same issue?
Hello, been here 2 weeks ago, a little bit more. Pamela Broombach, started the community garden. I'm gonna be brief. We only got 5 minutes. I don't know how we got here, but I'm here. It's fighting for the community center within our community. Okay, we're a little lost. We started out with something little and made it something big. We're growing with the help of Susan, with the help of Corey, with the help of Richard, with the help of Jared. I fought for this community garden at least 3 years ago. Locust Alley. I was told, I'm gonna be honest, a lie. I was told that little garden in Locust Avenue which was a garbage dump in my community. Okay, so I called about that garden that was in back of Little Locust Avenue, was switched off from one person to the next. They lost it. Okay, I said I want to start a garden. I want to start a garden that will take our youth off the street and feed our seniors. I was told when they finally got in touch with someone, oh, we got people that are renting that plot. I knew it was a lie because my son's shop was in there. It was a dump. They had water barrels. People were dumping their trash in. It was starting to smell of sewage. But this is in my neighborhood. This is in my community. I was upset. So when I brought it to the borough, they switched me from one person to the next. We're talking about 3 years ago, okay? You know, it was my dream to start that little patch as a garden. I come to find out when I brought it to their attention, they said, well, we got people that's going to have those plots. I said, okay, who are the people? Because I want to do this for my community. Next thing I know, little homemade sign, land for sale. After my son, his friends, his shop, cleaned that little patch time and time when it looked like a weed field and a sewage. They cleaned it up, they sold it, and they put trucks. I was told it was going to be garden plots that had already been sold. But that's okay, because my Lord's good. He gave me something bigger and better. the community center. We are all here to fight for the warehouse. We are all here to say we just want part of our neighborhood, our community back. We want to run for it. So we started this little piece where we cleaned up the land once again. We started building once again just to hear, well, you can't, you maybe can't, you maybe can do this. All we want is some clarity. The people we started out, I will never forget Susan, Richard, Jared from the borough that sat down and listened to us and said, yeah. And we want some clarity. We got a whole community and more that are here today and say, we got ideals, we got thoughts. There's things we want to do for our neighborhood, surrounding communities. Just give us a chance. You know, where all this legality comes in politics, I'm not up on that. I'm not going to lie. But I know what I want. I know what my neighbors want. I know what our community wants. And each one of these individuals, somehow, some way, have contributed to building it, cleaning it. We went in there. We cleaned a building, a warehouse. Now we got all these. I know everyone got a job to do, but it feels like we got all these little walls that every time we go ahead, we got to start over. We just want a chance. Okay, I'm just up here speaking for my neighbors in my community. I'm sure these people are here. They're here because they got excited about that garden getting started. Then they got excited about that warehouse that had mental health awareness in Gutfield. They got excited about that bazaar that we came together to do. They got excited about listening to our seniors. But we need some clarity now so we can go forward. Okay? And that's all I got to say. But any questions, you can ask me, and you can ask probably half of these people are just here to represent. But they'll probably ask the similar questions. Where do we go from here? Okay? Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you for your
Thanks, ma'am.
time, and thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. And anyone else on this issue? Anyone else who would like to speak on this issue? Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Come on up.
How y'all doing? Steve, my name is Aaron Jones, and I live in Carlisle. I've been here for a little while. But when you stop giving good opportunities to people, especially young generation, when you stop giving opportunities to do good in their life, it's going to be a problem, a major problem. I mean, I remember when I came up and I was a little kid, I remember my grandfather doing this right here. And he got us a community center. We should all have that. We should have a gym. I came up here, when I moved up here from Bristol, Pennsylvania, I said, you don't have a gym we can go to and play basketball free? They don't have that. This is what kids need to do, be around kids, not grown folks all the time. We need to be around other good kids that we can learn from one another. That's why God created us, to learn from one another. And if you stop giving opportunities, it's just going to be bad all the way across the board. The biggest thing I see in Carlisle since I've been here is a car show. What does that do for a little kid? Oh, that's a nice car. But then he might see a big deal and he got a nice car. So maybe that's how I'm going to get it. That's not opportunity. You know what I mean? And I only been here a little while, man, and I like little Carlisle. Quiet place, I love the farms and all that, because my grandfather was a farmer also. In fact, he farmed land that his job, when he retired, they donated it to him, and he farmed the land and passed it out in the whole community. And other grocery stores seen him doing that. They would supply him with bags. And this is an opportunity that my grandfather was given, and he took advantage of. and he made it into something. And people just respected him. And they followed him. They loved him. You know what I'm saying? It's about opportunities. If you don't have the same opportunities as everybody else, it's unfair, it's unjust. And God forbid, hey, we got all answer one day. And I pray to God that, because, we as men are supposed to be leaders, you know, I think sometimes women have to step in because due to the fact that I see a lot of guys can be biased to opportunities. And no, it's all about the money. That's all the root of evil. It's all about opportunity, helping someone along the way, helping the community build what was tore down. You don't just give up on them. You just can't give up on people. You can't. It's unfair. It's not just. It's not righteous. But that's all I have, and I want to thank y'all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead. Mhm. Mhm.
Good evening, everyone. I never want to be on the spotlight, but but I need to speak this. I have anxieties, depression, and there's a lot going on in my household with my parents being older. So I was going to the park, just sitting there trying to ease my mind, and I seen Miss Pam and Kizzy over there, and I had just had surgery on my hand, so I went over there and I said, "What are y'all doing?" They said we're planting seeds, and they had planted everything else. But Miss Pam said, "Well, you can plant some radishes." And I really don't. I'm the type of girl I really don't like to get dirty. But that day, I didn't mind getting dirty because I was doing something that would take my mind off of everything at home and my surgeries and everything. So I planted the radishes, and then next thing I know, I had surgery on my other hand, and I was away. And Miss Pam called me and said, "Oh my God, you should see those radishes that you grew." And she brought them to me. So to me, I love plants, and I do that. My mom had plants that were dying. I did take care of them, but I lost focus on all that. Like I didn't have the energy or the mindset to do anything. So I'm telling y'all today, when it's hot out and the garden is dry, and Nairi likes to water it, but I'm ready to plant stuff, and they're telling me that it's not warm enough to plant stuff. But I want you to know that that garden, it has stuff growing now, but I can't wait for it get warm enough for us to plant stuff. And that is one of my promises to Miss Kizzy and Pam. I said, when it gets warm, I want to plant whatever there is to plant. So to me, the garden is good. And and right now, I'm like my great niece. She's only 6, and I be telling her I'm at the garden, and she doesn't live in town, but she's like, "Well, what you plant today?" I said, "I'm not planting anything." Then why are you over there? You know what I mean? So when it does get nice out, I can bring her over there and show her how we do this, and maybe in the near future I will have her over there. And that's all I have to say. And thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, sir. Oh. Might be. Do we have an extra mic? Might be helpful too.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Dickerson. I'm the pastor of Shiloh Baptist Church, and I've been there now for a year as pastor. And very early, I heard of Sophronia and Miss Kizzy trying to do some work over at the warehouse, and they needed a place even to meet. And I felt it was very supportive for our church to offer our space so that they could have a meeting place to prepare for what is to come with the warehouse. So I'm here to listen, and I'm here to find out whatever it is that we can do to help support this to be a strength in our community. I am a product not of Carlisle, but of Ardmore, Pennsylvania, Lancaster, and in both of those places, there were buildings, facilities for children to be able to meet as family, have activities, and to encourage children to grow up strong and be productive in their community. And that's what I would like to see happen here. And that's why I'm here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, we're going to get a microphone down too. That might be, you'll find that a little easier.
My name is John Tillman. I live at 110 East North Street.
There you go.
I'm
Okay,
58
got it.
years old. I've lived, born and raised in Carlisle. And when Kitsy told me what she was trying to do, I thought it was a really good idea. And then she told me about a week ago, we're in danger of losing the warehouse. And, you know, we need to know if we have it or if we don't have it. It's, you know, you're not going to go forward and pour all this stuff into it if the rug is going to be pulled out from under you. So we got to come to some type of agreement. It's just that simple. I know that neighborhood. I know what's there and what it could be. The possibilities are endless. And we're willing to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Jones. I've been in Carlisle now, come November 1st, it'll be 9 years. I've been working on, I volunteer to work at the polls. So I work at the polls right across from the courthouse every year. And I do my best to try to reach out to the community to have people come out to vote. One of the things that I notice here, we don't do that unless it's somebody we want them to vote for. When there's nothing going on in Carlisle about any candidates, no one talks to people about voting. We need to do better. We need to step up to the plate if we want change. If we want people to make a difference in our community, we need change. And we need people to reach out. Reach out. I work at Walmart part-time. All my employees want to know why I need off May 19th. Because I go to the polls. I'm a majority inspector at the polls. They all ask me, what is that? What do you do? Why do you do that? You've been in Carlisle all this time. You have no idea? No. So we need to reach out. We need to start talking to people, not based on their color, their race, where they come from, how much money they have and what they don't have, if they drive a car or not. It's not important. Because we are, as a nation, falling apart. They are looking at us in other countries. I had a woman call me at 11:30 at night and say, Miss Sandra, y'all had a service for one of the employees at Walmart passed away unexpectedly. She said, well, she's from Napoli. She said, what is the procedure? What do y'all do? Why are y'all, do y'all have a service? That to me is so demeaning as a country, that you have people that come into this country and they don't understand or they don't know. We don't make them aware. All the family did was ask me to go to the job, pass out a brochure to say that they were having a cookout for a celebration of life for Patricia Glasgow. And anybody wants to come, they're more than welcome to come. She did not understand that. So she asked me yesterday, she said, why are you not going to be here to vote? For May 19th. I said, because I work the polls. She knows nothing about that. She's been in this country 13 years. She knows nothing about me, what I do working at the polls. She's been living in Carlisle for 13 years. So when things don't go right and I see people complaining, we can't. How can you complain about things that are not right in this country when half of us don't even do the right thing to help, to make us come, to put the seams together? It's not right because we're not right. So we need to come together as right. And it's not about color. It's not about where you come from. None of that matters. Our forefathers, or my grandparents, they talked about voting and making sure that we voted and we got out and did our part because they fought so hard for us to be able to do that. So why not? We can't. You're on your job every day. You come in contact with people that all walks of life. Poor, rich, black, white, from other countries, international, whatever. What is wrong with having a conversation about, are you registered to vote? Half of those people at my job that work at Walmart are not registered to vote. But I see y'all come through, and I never see nobody talking to these people about that. This girl been in here in this country for 13 years. She can vote. She's not registered to vote. I've been talking to her every day. I said, Kalu, come, go down to Ritna Highway and go to the election office. What's that? Where's that at? I don't even know where that at. I never heard of that. So we got to do better. We need to come together and we need to get it right, because this country, we're losing all the respect and all the things that got us glued together, all that they fought for, the for the racism, to just people living in homes and buying homes, all that stuff is falling apart. You talk to kids now, you talk to these kids now, some of them don't even want to buy a home. So all I'm saying is that all I'm asking for you people that have the authority or have the opportunity or in a position, come on, y'all, let's reach out. Just reach out. Have a conversation with somebody. Talk to people. Don't be worried about where they come from or what they look like or if they're in your status or if they're your caliber of person. See, the one thing I was taught by my grandmother, she always taught me, she said, Sandra, I used to look at people and I used to say to her, oh God, Grandma, she look nasty. I won't talk to her. Come on, let's go over this way. And she would say, get your butt over here. What does she have that you don't have? I'm like, oh no, she just looks nasty. And she would say, that don't mean nothing. You may wake up one morning and that same person that you're looking at and saying nasty, she may have to give you a drink of water. So don't shun yourself from no one, because you don't never know who will have to give you a drink of water or have to pick you up off the ground or have to let you out or have to let you in. You never know. So that's how we need to think. Like, because of the way they are and who they are or whatever, we have to just look past that and just let's try to get the job done. The stuff that matters, that does matter, that are going to make us better and better people, better in a place to live. That garden over there, when I found out about it, I thought that was the greatest thing. But the thing about it is, you don't know. Like, I didn't know if I was able to go there. I didn't know if I was able to get what I wanted because nobody really told me anything. I didn't see no signs around to say anybody is welcome, everybody is welcome, or if you have something to plan, if you want to try to plan something. Nobody put nothing up or said anything. So why have, like you have it, but then you don't have nothing there. Like, I literally, coming from my brother's house, and my other brother told me they're having a meeting tonight. And I said, well, where's the meeting? He said, I don't know. They're having a meeting. They got a sign out there or something. So I literally pulled down the street to go by the garden just to see whatever. I mean, it was a little bit of sign, but I was able to find it, after somebody told me about it. But it was not like it was posted in the town or in the community for everybody to see. You know what I'm saying? So if you want, and believe it or not, the cops pulled me over. I got stopped by the police for pulling up and trying to read the sign. And he said to me, he followed me from where I was looking when I pulled to the sign to try to read the sign. He followed me from there all the way to my home. And he asked me, when I got out of the car, he said, are you okay? I said, what's the problem, officer? He said, I just want to know if you was drunk or something. He said, because you was full. I was like, no. I was trying to read that sign they had about this meeting that they were having tonight. And he said, oh, okay. But y'all don't, nobody reaches out. Nobody does anything to do anything in the community. It's like, if you're not in that upper echelon of the group, you don't get notified or you don't get to know about stuff. But if you're in that upper echelon, they know everything. They know what's going on. But people down here don't know nothing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Welcome each and every one of you. My name is Charmaine Rideout. I've been in this community for well over 75 years. When I grew up, we had the Powell building, which housed many of the children in Carlisle, gave them information and kept them out of trouble. That was developed by the police department of Carlisle. It was called the Police League of Carlisle. I am a member of Cumberland Prairie Mental Health at IDD. This is for individuals with identity defects in the community, children with handicaps. The Borough Council certified me and a couple other individuals for many years. We fed all the children after school. They never went hungry. Now that the children come from school, they say they're hungry. Hope Station, James Washington was the one who initiated everything, in case you know him or heard about him. He started the Hope Station, which is located on West Penn Street. There we made at least 100 sandwiches every day for almost 10 years, sponsored by the Borough of Carlisle, to feed these children that came home from school, because some of these children never ate supper like we do every night. That was their only meal. I check the park every day. The borough cannot pay for paving for the Memorial Park. There's children, I carry Band-Aids with me all the time because the children fall off of the equipment, cut their legs because it's dirt. They haven't done any paving because the Borough Council stated that they couldn't do it anymore. And here these children fall every day on dirt, cut themselves. Even the equipment in Memorial Park is so outdated, over 10 or 15 years ago when they built that park. The chains on the swing are rusted. There's no maintenance. One of these children is really going to get hurt. Then we have hundreds, by me being with the Good Samaritan of Carlisle, hundreds of homeless individuals here in our town. All you have to do is go to Thornball Park, Leetor Park, Memorial Park, all over is where these individuals stay. They're not like in the city where they lay on the streets or on the benches. These individuals have somewhere to hide. Even with the borough, if you had one hole in the ground, it was fixed the next day. I live on Ridge and Noble Boulevard. There's been a hole in the ground for at least 2 months. The police officers ride up and down my street chasing individuals or whatever. You ought to see their cars when they go over these humps and these holes in the ground. What's going to happen? Will somebody be injured? Or children that come out of Thornwell Park, will they be injured? It seems like the borough's going backwards instead of frontwards. This stuff should have happened many years ago. When I was young, 70-some years ago, I was born in Carlisle. The borough's never been like that, even with the police officers. When they organized the police athletic league for all the young people, even the homeless that are here in Carlisle, that are hungry, they have no place to stay. Then when they do go to the care center, they use a miscellaneous type of deal. They have a criminal record. For how long? Retail theft or something like that. It's not murder or carjacking or one of your terroristic threats that they're kept out of that. These individuals are hungry. The children are hungry. When I worked at the Hope Station, we made 100 to 200 sandwiches a week for children that were hungry that didn't get any meals after school. That's all they ate for their dinner. And it's sad. And the borough stopped that because it cost too much money. Something has to be done. That's why I'm here today, to tell you things aren't like they used to be. They need to change. Thank you very much.
Yes, you can come on up. Sure.
Good evening. My name is Betty Diggs. I am lived in Carlisle most of my life, left, came back. I'm talking about the warehouse. When I went in there, I looked around. I told Kitsy, I said, girl, this thing got potential. I said, don't you think what we could do? We could have people, resources, telling people how to register to vote. We have to have committees telling people how to buy a house for the first time because a lot of people don't know. We could have senior citizens come and sit and talk because there's so many of us that are by ourselves and need somebody to talk to, just to play cards, play games, do puzzles. You could have an after school program there. There's so many things that you could do at the warehouse. And I just hope that you take that into consideration of all the resources that our Black community is not getting, but we can give that to our community. So I hope you take that in consideration. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Stephanie, do we have anybody by Zoom? That's okay. I couldn't see you over there. You disappeared. Okay. All right. Let me just address a couple things. And one that what's on the agenda tonight, just clear that up, is what we're calling a priority use agreement with the Learning Tree. That's the agenda item this evening. That agreement is really, I think I can say, oh, it's not on the agenda now. Oh, I didn't realize. I thought the plan was to have that on the agenda tonight. No. Okay. Well, the plan was to have the item on the agenda tonight. What the priority use agreement would do is provide the Learning Tree with kind of first dibs on the warehouse usage. The basics of it were anytime the Learning Tree would want to use the we're calling it the warehouse, the community center. They'd have a right to do that. If someone else, some other organization came in to request that, we'd first reach out to the Learning Tree to confirm that they would not need those dates for the community warehouse. So that was the intent tonight. I'm sorry, that's kind of gone astray. I think part of that was and Kitsy, I think we need some clarification on this too. And I'm going to kind of go a little bit into the history, but we've had some communications since we sent the priority use agreement out to you, Kitsy. I'm trying to confirm whether you wanted us to go forward with it. I assume that's why this wound up not being on the agenda. I had written, I think Susan had written, I had written to try to get confirmation on whether you wanted us to proceed with it. I didn't get any reply from that, so I just wanted. Do you want us to proceed with that?
Well, the priority use agreement, and I reached out to Richard and said that what the priority agreement is saying is that we get to use it on that day if we want to use it on that day. What I was saying is that that's not sustainable for our community and to have the center. I mean, what good does that do if I say I want it on Tuesday, May 5th? What happens within the other days? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have a center where we can have these resources available to our community so that we, if we are planning something with our kids, like right now, I have the facility that's paid for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I need longer days. I mean, it makes no sense to not have longer days. But your agreement then changed. Your agreement is then you're not providing this, or I have to pay per day, or something else, and that's not a reliable or sustainable agreement to have. I mean, that's just like you saying, okay, I want to use the borough facility today. Now, that doesn't mean that you get to use it tomorrow. You don't get to work out of the facility. What are we supposed to do? I mean, even the only reason why I selected the days for May was because there are 681 bodies in the Lincoln Cemetery. We were going to do a program. We can't do it on the 25th. I mean, yeah, you're going to allow us to have the building on the 25th, but where are we going to host? Where are we going to keep our things? So that's why I came back and I said to Richard, okay, then give us the office space then. I don't care who you put in the space, but give us the office space so that we are housed for our community. So if somebody wants to utilize, or Juneteenth coming up, okay, Juneteenth will come here, but what are we supposed to do? Work out of the garden? Put our stuff in the garden?
Right.
We have no place else to do that. And like
Right.
I said, our agreement is that, we are looking to utilize the warehouse. And I also presented to you, Sean, about, okay, let's try May through August, until we are working out everything that we need to work out. If the building is not in use at this time, why not? Why we can't have an
Can I
agreement?
just pause you there for a
I
second?
know.
Just no,
And
no.
this is how it stops all the time, Sean. This is where it stops all the
Kitsy,
time when we are trying to work this out.
Kitsy, I'm trying to have dialogue with you here.
Okay.
Okay. You're saying you proposed something from May to August. I didn't receive that, so I don't know when you proposed that. Was that in an email exchange recently?
Yes.
Okay. It may have been something I hadn't had an opportunity to review yet. So, but regardless, what I was asking is, you want us to scrap that priority use agreement? Is what I'm taking from.
Like I said, I've been going back and forth with Richard about this, and Susan.
So
they know what my issues are with it, and where we need to define it a little bit more.
Okay.
But like I said, the priority use agreement just says that I get to use it, or the Learning Tree gets to use it on that one particular day. That can't be acceptable.
On any particular day that you choose. Right. When you say one particular day, it's not one particular day. It's any day you would choose. That's what the priority use agreement does. You schedule it out. You have priority use of that. If somebody else wants to use that space, before we allow them to use that space, we would reach out to you to confirm you don't have need for that space.
I understand that.
Okay.
I
just didn't want
that.
people to misunderstand.
But what I'm saying, what we were saying is, if we are trying to host, any kind of, or get any kind of traction within our community, with training, with keeping an eye on our kids, that's something that I can't say, okay, we can do that on Tuesday and Thursday. I can't say we can do that on a Sunday. What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to get stable days so that we know that we're in there. If we're just saying Monday, well, then you lose, what happens to, the excitement about building the community, about, getting projects started in there. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's what I've been going back and forth with Richard and Susan about. It's not a Kitsy thing. It's a community thing. It's a community. There's a building, a warehouse that has sat vacant. And now all of a sudden, the goalpost has changed. I've done everything that the borough has requested, the 501, the insurance, everything that you've requested, I've done, because I want to make sure that this is following what the borough's strategic plan is, and that's what I'm trying to stay focused on. But if we can't have the warehouse, what are our kids going to do?
Right. Kitsy, no one's saying you can't use the warehouse. No
I
one's
know,
saying
but
in the
the
long
priority agreement, Sean.
Okay, I'm sorry, Kitsy, if I could, we had a meeting on April 13th. You were there, Pam was there, members of your board were there, staff was there, I was there. I was I was silent and listening for most of that meeting to make sure I understood where you were coming from. I think it's been expressed a couple times, and it sounds like there's still a misconception of ADI's role in this. So I want to address that. We had representatives from ADI, including Tawanda, who was there at that meeting. The role of ADI is not to have workshops and put banners up about, we're doing this great thing about anti-racism. And we talked about that at that April 13th meeting, and I think clarified that. The purpose of ADI, and as I think I've expressed over the past at least 6 months plus when we've had conversations about it, is to ensure there's community engagement. And we had agreement at that April 13th meeting that there should be community engagement about this. And I felt strongly about that, and I expressed that in an email to you and other members of your board, and that's driven from the history of the borough's actions and inactions in this neighborhood in particular. And it doesn't start or end with 1972 and what happened to that cemetery, but that's an important point. And so the purpose of those discussions we had, Kitsy, was that I wanted to ensure that the borough's not jumping headlong into something that we've not gotten direct feedback from the community about in an organized way. And that was the purpose of bringing in the Anti-Racist Development Institute, to do that, to put in place that design thinking to make sure that we're hitting all those pain points, because I understand there are pain points. I think I would say too that even in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we probably jumped headlong into that before we should have. We hadn't laid the groundwork of that acknowledgement that Tawanda talked about. But we were there and we moved, and there was passion to move forward with that. And I'm glad we did, because at least it brought us to this point. I think I want this to succeed. I want there to be a community center. I want there to be something that the community can use there. There's no dispute about that. And I've expressed that to you over and over again, I think. And over and over again, I felt like you felt like I or the borough have been the enemy on this in some way. I'm just expressing how it's felt. I'm not. I want this to succeed for you. And I know we've had exchanges over the past 2 years, not about this in particular, about things that were happening with Hope Station back now 3 years ago, I should say, and the loss of services there. So I'm incredibly sensitive to the fact that there needs to be more done in that neighborhood, and that's why I wanted to have this robust community engagement and get feedback from the neighbors on how this should proceed. And at that April 13th meeting, I asked you directly, I said, do you think a process like that would even help your organization be stronger? And you agreed with that. So I think we're on the same page with this. And when we discussed at the April 13th meeting having this priority use agreement, I came out of that meeting thinking that's the plan. We're going to do some public engagement moving forward, and then have a longer term plan going forward once we're able to get that in place. But then we got feedback, I think, from you about the priority use agreement you apparently didn't want to proceed with that. So this kind of has been developing over the last month or so, particularly over the last week. So when I was asking you whether you want to proceed with that, that's because I walked out of that April 13th meeting with the understanding that that's how we were going to proceed, because that's effectively how that meeting ended once our hour or so was up and folks had to move on. So the idea here is to have this community engagement. I want to understand, is there, and I mean an organized community engagement, is there opposition to that?
I don't know really what you're saying about oppositions to that, Sean. What we asked, and I was in that meeting, what we were asking is let our community use this building, utilize this building. We started with nothing. We cleaned up around that area. I mean, no disrespect to anybody up there, you haven't been here, but our impression came out with hope from the borough that met with us and making it grow. And it just seemed like then obstacles, okay, you can't have the building, you can't have the office. We're like, we're just doing for a community. Now, everything that was asked of us, the 501, the insurance, the what, and all that was given, and then it's like, well, no, this is an entity. But let's be honest, that building was sitting empty for 4.5 going on 5 years. We got in there, we cleaned up that garbage that was around it. We got in there, we had programs, and we understand the borough helped us to begin this. We had a great start when it was borough. It seemed like a little bit of politics got in this, and then things came up where no, you can't. Well, we want to utilize it. And my son's a contractor. He builds buildings. He works for small business getting started. He's like, why did all of a sudden they target that building that's bringing our community together? Why all of a sudden they started when there's many empty buildings to whatever you can do, which is a good thing with ADI, with whatever else you want to start. But why did they target a building that's finally bringing us together to find a way to better our neighborhood, to better a safe place for our children, to better. Now, why are all these obstacles coming? Like I said, I'm not familiar with all the legalities in the political form, but why have all of a sudden that building been sitting? We scrubbed that building. We cleaned that garbage off that building. And you said you could, Hope Station was right there. You said you could have utilized the building. We just want an understanding. A lot of people in here say, oh, we could do this. You know, their input. You said you wanted to have a meeting, a town hall, and see what the people want. They're here. They're here. They're telling you what you want. They want the warehouse. They want us to grow. They want us to work with you. But giving us 3 or 4 days reporting, somehow it feels like you now put a hold on us again.
Pam, help me understand when you say
But we just need some I don't mean to cut you off, Sean. We want the season will be over again another year.
Right.
We
Pam,
just want some clarity.
Help me understand what you mean by targeting that building. I'm not understanding what you mean. You're talking about you feel like promises were made. I mean, I wasn't part of that discussion.
I
So
know,
if
because
that
you said
was,
that the meeting, and I understood that. I
yeah,
went back and I said, "Do you understand? Sean doesn't even have any clarity because you said I'm a little confused." But we did have meetings. We did have.
So with the agreement that for the April 13th, Sean, the mayor, the priority agreement, my understanding is that we would get the use of the building. When I emailed Susan, I was like, Susan, how about from here to here? And
you
she's
you were
like, you needed
imagining
programs.
exclusive.
You needed to put programs together. You needed to have all of this. And so I did. I sent it back. I gave her May, June, July, and August. I put those in and what type of training, what kind of programs that we would have over there until we could come to some kind of agreement with how the building, or if the building at all, would be used as a community center.
So that could you tell me are those times scheduled in at this point?
Well,
If I may. So yes, we were working together on May and through the summer months to identify dates. And essentially, because we were also in the midst of doing the draft of the priority use agreement with Solicitor Brenneman, I said, why don't we just get May and June under our belt? And, because in anticipation of executing the priority use agreement that, it may look slightly different. When the priority use agreement was provided to Kitsy and the board, Kitsy came back, and I think that's when we realized that you expressed the need to have more of a permanent, I won't say permanent, that's more of a presence through the utilization of the office space. So I conferred with our solicitor, and he keeps us all squared away. And he said, "Wait a minute, if you're going from if this is more of a license agreement, the priority use agreement. If we're talking use of office space, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, but then it's it takes on more of a lease arrangement and a lease agreement. And so that's where we ended up. And I think Kitsy at that point, that's when this past week or so, Richard
or a
was
few
asking for,
weeks.
or 2 weeks, we were getting clarity on whether or not you wanted it on, you still wanted a priority use agreement on the agenda, or did we want to hold off? And I think the decision was just hold off and let's see how this meeting went tonight.
Right. So I think that there was a misunderstanding about what we thought the lease agreement, the priority agreement was going to be. Like I said, I assumed, and excuse me if I assumed, but I assumed that the priority was going to be more days involved instead of just a day. That's it. So, like I said, I have been working with Richard and Susan with this agreement, and I'm assuming I've copied you in on it, but that's what we've been working on. And I'm like, well, Susan, and I said to Richard, how can we do anything if we don't have a couple days?
Or if we don't have, forget a couple days, a month.
No, I'm talking about throughout the week.
Yeah.
I'm like, like I said, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That gives us enough time to get the kids in there, that we are starting to put structure back into our community again. I don't care who utilizes the building on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I don't even care if somebody wanted to use the building on the days that we are in there, but it gives us no structure at all if you're just saying, okay, you can use it on Tuesday. Or if you call me, let me know. And then the agreement then became, all right, when these days, then you have to pay for this, 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 and this. And then I came back and said, well, how's that going to work if we're just starting as a 501, you've already put us underneath the barrel. How can we even get any kind of traction with donations or consistency with any of our partners to donate if you are not allowing us use of the building?
Use of the building, the little building that is falling apart, but we've come to love. We can't even, now we're told, no, you can't use the office.
So we are on a hold as
now
well
you can't
as
use
the borough
this.
right now. Our community is, do we bring paint over? Do we not bring paint over? Do we solicit donations to our partners or to the community asking for things? We don't even know if we have the building. It's unfair to say, oh yeah, we want you to donate to a cause that we believe is going to uplift our community, but we're not sure
that we can have use of the building, and you can't have the office of the building.
And that's like
but you can't do this with the building. When we started out and we were all on one accord, now it's like.
So I guess the confusion comes is the difference between an agreement and a lease. And I think that's what I'm hearing now. If you allow me to utilize the building more than that one day, then it's considered a lease, and the borough is not ready to sign over a lease. But what you will do is you will say to the Learning Tree and to our community, you can use that building on Tuesday. But you'll have to let me know about the other days that you want to use. And like I said, what does that do with anything that we're going to be trying to do with our kids?
With starting programs or starting educational programs, with having a safe space for our seniors, with them coming over and saying, oh, I heard you say the days we selected will be priority days, but how do we make a strong foundation for saying this will be done with our seniors, this will be done for a safe space for our children and our seniors, our education. When it's okay, when did it become check-in to have a day? And on that day, you better pay for that day. And you will have priority of that day, but there might be somebody who wants that day. So where's the structure for our community? Where's the confidence that they can come in there and have a safe space when now there are strict rules and regulations? What do you mean you can't have an office? You can't use the office. But that's things we got to get straight. How did this all become so complicated? We just want answers
Yeah,
and
we just
educate
want
our
a community
community.
center. That's it.
You know, because they're excited. They have ideas. They're excited about going to a safe space. You heard some of our seniors. We didn't bring our children in that want to come out of the rain, and we want them to sit around and make sure they're okay, because the homeless center, which is now being moved, that's a good thing. But you know how many people we lost that live right in our communities because they don't want our children sitting in the park? Now we're moving that. So we wanted a safe space. So we come in, we can teach them or be with them after school programs or hear their problems. It's just a lot of little things that mean something. And now we're holding barriers, and what's going to happen to our seniors and our children. And we know everyone's been in here a long time, so I feel as though we need to all get up and get out of here
Yeah.
and get some and get some clarity.
At the end of the day,
We just want clarity.
yeah, like I've said to you before, Sean, if you have a different agenda for the building, then you just express that. If the borough is moving in a different direction and they no longer want to utilize the building that way, then all you need to do is just tell us that. But as we keep on hashing out all of this, these are the days that our kids, like I said yesterday, I was at the facility and it's raining. You know, kids are outside. I'm looking at that the kids could be inside and we can be doing some positive things. Our seniors could be inside. I consider myself a senior now too, but but just to be inside,
safe.
You know, we have our seniors that sit and discuss all the things that are going on in the world on a bench in the park.
A bench.
But when it's raining or the weather is cold or inclement, then what? Then they're still sitting out there.
Or they're sitting in their cars.
And that's not, you know, and what's that say about us? Like I said, to me, it feels like you say I'm moving fast, and I understand what you're saying on a government level, state level, local level,
political level.
But for me, I've been living it for 40 years. You know, that we have no facilities within our community. So what may seem fast to you, it's been 40 years for our kids. Like I said, there's a whole generation of our kids that have not even been able to participate in anything indoors that they can't afford. And that's the bottom line. It's not, like I said, about you. It's not about me. It's about what is coming up next. You know,
Right, and we don't
Jeff,
have
you
different
know
we don't have different goals about that, right? We want that space. I mean, I've said that, and so when you say I may have, if I have other ideas about that, one, it's not mine to choose, but I don't like. I want that space engaged, and again, going back to the April 13th meeting, the way I walked out of that was this was going to be sort of a stopgap to get us to, we're going to do that community engagement. We're really going to hear from the community, which I think we all want to hear from, right? I mean, we're hearing some of it tonight. We have folks here, but we don't have everybody. I mean, one person, I think she's left, mentioned that she didn't even know about this until today or shortly ago. So the idea was to do that engagement, and we wanted to get the Anti-Racist Development Institute involved in that because the expertise they bring to that process, so we can have a fulfilling process of community engagement that would kind of guide us for the long-term use and what that turns into, which I think can be a beautiful thing, Kitsy.
And I do too,
I think,
Sean.
right.
I told you I don't have any problems with ADI coming in. I think that it is a positive,
a workshop,
a positive program to bring into the community. But what I'm hearing too is we have to have that first in order for you, the borough, to make the agreement on whether or not we are going to get the space. And that's why I keep saying we're separate entities here. The learning tree is the learning tree. The borough is the borough, and ADI is ADI.
Right.
But we're not all like ADI and the learning tree are not brothers and sisters. We ain't trying to get married. We ain't trying to do none of that stuff. They provide a service. That's all they do. They
Okay.
provide a service, but they have nothing to do with the learning tree. The learning tree, I am coming to you saying that we are looking to lease that building, do something with that building. Whether ADI does whatever they do, that's what I'm trying to say. You're trying to tell me until ADI moves on something, then 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 you're going to discuss the lease part of it, or whether or not we are going to get the lease.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you
I
Okay.
there
think
is
there's
nothing.
yeah, I think
There is
there's still
nothing.
a
There's two separate things going on here.
no, I think there's still a misconception of what ADI's role is, and maybe I'm not expressing it correctly. I don't, Tawana, if you want to kind of
That's why
jump in
I'm
and
cutting it off because I see things being said from that's why we're trying to get an understanding. We agreed to the ADI, like we said at the meeting, the ADI um workshop, the town hall workshop. We agree whenever they come in. Tawana got a lot of good input. But right now it's like we feel like we're fighting over space. We're not doing that. I'll keep coming back to we need clarity.
ADI is not using that
There
space.
you go.
That's not what
Yes,
that's
and
what
I
I've been
think
trying
we
to.
need to keep
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
back
I
to.
don't, and I know that. I know ADI is not using the
We just
space.
need clarity of what we can be doing in that building. To sit down and talk really with specific clarity. Okay, because we got some organizations, we got some people, we got donations and things coming in. We don't want to use them or overstep our boundary
right.
of what we can, and that's where I'm feeling everybody's not feeling the real purpose of what this building is. It's like a plant that's getting ready to blossom, but it needs some foundation. And
An
on that
appropriate
note,
an appropriate analogy, Pam, for the
thank you,
community garden there.
thank you,
Right.
Mayor Sean. And on that note, I'm going. I got other obligations, and it comes down to clarity, and we'll take it
Yeah,
from
and I
there.
think that's all we're looking for
Okay.
is if the borough is moving in that direction, okay. All right, then let's move in that direction, and we need clarity on that direction. But if you're not moving in that direction and saying all the information comes in and then it's decided, you know what, maybe we don't want to use that facility as a community center, then we need to know that as well so that we are moving forward, that we're all moving forward and that there's no misunderstanding. So
Right.
that's
So
where I am with
if
the
the
learning
board,
tree.
if the people who have been polite enough to listen to us, I know we're all over the place, and just some clarity so our community, our neighbors, what we can and cannot do, what we can say yes to and no to help them to grow, to help us to grow, to help us all to be united, will be appreciated.
Yeah, and one thing that we're trying to stop.
But as it gets longer, I think we get lost in what we're really trying to accomplish.
And I think too that what we're trying to squash is the what is it, the grapevine or whatever. I heard you said this. This one said this. This one said this. I heard that you're doing this. We're just trying to get as much clarity so that we're passing information down to our community,
Right.
and it's accurate information, not what I've heard, third person or anything else. And that's all the community has said. Do you have the building or you don't
Don't
have
have
the
the building.
building?
Can we do this?
And I'm
Can we
like,
do
I
that?
don't know. I don't know.
And they don't know as I'm learning as we go along.
So, like I
But
said, I'm a senior right now.
I'm not, I'm not
I'm not
into
waiting
this
until
getting
I'm
huffy,
75
huffy,
years old
huffy,
until the borough
huffy.
decides.
When things go wrong, we just need to sit down and have the clarity.
Right.
And like that, I have other
All right.
appointments.
Thank you,
I
Pam.
thank you all. I thank you all. Mayor Sean, we just got to get it right.
Right. All right.
All of
Thank you,
us.
Pam.
Okay. Susan, thank you. Thank you for helping us to start this and helping us to grow this. Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Let's have some clarity on it. ADI's role in all of this.
I'm back again. So I'm actually going to wear two hats. One as the program manager for the Anti-Racist Development Institute, and the second hat as a resident of this borough. The first hat I'll address with the Anti-Racist Development Institute. We are fortunate to be partners with the borough on what they choose to do. we are not an impediment to any progress or anything that is taking place in the community. And if I could be even further honest, what you have is the benefit of somebody who is working with the borough because of history with the borough to ensure that the needs of the community are being met. That is a benefit. Now here's what else I can tell you, and you don't have to hear it. But me and that woman right there, sat right here. We sat in this borough hall for an entire year, coming to meeting after meeting after meeting, waiting for this borough to issue a formal apology for what took place with Lincoln Cemetery. And the record will reflect that. Now, what I won't do is ever be in a position where it seems as though what I'm trying to do is to hurt and not help. If you know anything about my record and you know anything about my service to this community, whether inside this building or outside of this building, my record speaks for itself, and you can Google me. I will continue to be committed to the work of the ADI with a strong borough partner, not ever standing in the way of the Learning Tree or any other community partner, but we have to learn to partner together. The lady that was in here earlier said it true. Does anybody know what Tuesday is? Do you have a plan? Let's get there and make it happen. We have a real opportunity. We have a real opportunity, and we would be remiss if we let it pass us by, because we're not going to figure it out. And that's not going to happen on my watch. Not either as the program manager with the Anti-Racist Development Institute or any other role that I have in this community. I mean what I say, and I stand by my record in this community, and I stand by the work that I do. If there are no other questions, I'll yield.
Are there any questions? Okay. How would council like to proceed on this? Is there any comments, thoughts, anything, questions?
I just want to say, you know, I've been listening to all of this. Some of this is new to me. I haven't been party to all of the exchanges that have gone back and forth between the staff and the Learning Tree and the board. I feel like there's a perception out there that we are somehow standing in opposition to you. We are not. We are trying to find the best way to move forward together. And we just want to make sure we do our due diligence and make sure that it's in the best interest of everyone in the community and that you're all heard. I love that you're all here tonight. There are so many meetings that we have where we're the only ones sitting up here and there's nobody out there at all. So thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time to tell us what you need. So I just kind of see the ADI in a role of facilitator between the neighborhood and the borough to figure out what is best for that building. And we're not saying no, that this is not what we think is best for the building. We just want to make sure we have all the information before we move forward. Does that make sense? We're not standing in opposition to you. We're just working through the process.
Any other? Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of feelings involved, and I've just been through the whole thing. I'm Shakina Chappelle. I'm Kitsy's daughter. I'm tired. I think that what we need to really get down to is that what happened in the beginning is not what's happening now. There's conversation, Sean, that you were not privy to in the beginning, that now that you are, the conversation has changed, and we've all accepted that. Now, we just need it to move. It's been a year, and there are things that need to take place. So now, if the town hall needs to happen, where more than this needs to happen, can we just make it happen? Whatever needs to happen to make the town hall happen, can we make it happen so that we can move forward with whatever is going to happen? This is I work in government too, so I know how this stuff works, and it's long, and I understand you can't just make fly-by-night decisions, but when the initial request was made, perhaps some diving in of head first happened that shouldn't have. And I feel like a lot of talking in circles is happening to walk back some statements that were made in the beginning, when all that needs to happen is somebody said something in the beginning that should not have been said. Here are the very clear processes that we need to do, and here is the timeline in which we will do it. That's all I think they're asking for. That's all I hope I get, because I'm tired and I want to see things happen here too. But if it's not, then it's not. But can we get a timeline? That's it.
That's all I was trying to get us to. I
And
mean,
I
honestly,
think
that's
all
what I'm trying to get us to.
clear
Yeah.
language
Yeah.
is appreciated.
Right.
And I don't think that's what happened here. And that's why what happened here happened.
I think we were trying to map that timeline out at that April 13th meeting. I mean, that was the whole purpose of that. Yeah. So, and I don't have ADI's schedule, right? So that was the intent. I mean, for months that we were going to do this community engagement. We had to wait, of course, until we could get the ADI contract, which only began in April. And we're there now. So, well, here we have maybe part of ADI's calendar walking back in. So Tawana, I don't remember April 13th. Did we talk about a specific timeline on the community engagement, the town hall workshop, whatever we wanted to call it? Do you recall that? Yeah, you can, or if you know off the top of your head, just go ahead.
Well, we didn't discuss dates. We discussed two opportunities. The first opportunity was for borough staff and leadership to engage in a. I'm going to stop using the word workshop because I think that's where some confusion is. But to engage in that process, to engage in the planning.
And that's scheduled early June now. Right.
So the other option was to engage in that planning with members from the learning tree, staff, and board. That was not the option that was chosen. So we have the early June or whatever that we're working towards.
Right. So we'll have that with staff, but then the intent is to have that larger facilitation, I'll call it, with the community.
Right. So I think those days would be selected as part of that June planning.
Right, and could be done this summer.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So the target's this summer once we have the session in June. Is it June 4th? June 3rd? June 1st now? June 1st. So that's going to happen June 1st. From there, we'll then schedule that. And Kitsy, like in partnership with you, I mean, we invited the Learning Tree into this process. We want you to be part of this process, and fully engage in that process. So I think after June 1st, then we'll be able to schedule something out and work that within your schedule. Does that work?
I'm still, like I said, I think it's just but Sean, this is where I think that where it gets kind of crazy, because are you saying we can't move forward with a lease or anything with the building until we have something done with ADI? Is that what you're saying?
That was the intent, and we can't move forward with the lease tonight, right? We can't, right?
What I'm saying is that what you're saying, that the community center can't move forward until ADI is has the workshop, the town hall, whatever needs to be done.
Right. Because because the idea was that then would help inform both what the use of that space looks, what your let's say your use of that space looks like, and as we discussed in April, help you perhaps hone your programming that you would do there too, and get this all off on the right foot. Does that Does that make sense?
No, it's confusing.
No. Okay. What? Well, I'm asking Kitsy if that makes sense because I need Kitsy to understand. Yeah.
It's confusing because there's two separate issues going on here. It's either the space is available for lease or it's not available. That's all it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're saying is that's not the beginning of our conversation. Our conversation was, this is what we wanted to do, kids, this is what you need to do to get there. And then in February, that's when it all changed. So we had been in dialogue from April 2005 up until January 2026. That's what I'm saying. Then it changed. We were no longer talking about a lease. That's why we came back and said, what is ADI? What is the purpose of ADI? What are we talking about here? And that's when I asked Susan, I'm confused. What does ADI have to do with us leasing the building? That's what it came down to. But now I'm hearing that ADI is designed to pull people together to want to get my program out. No, and it's not. Okay, so, but that's what I'm telling you, that's what I was hearing. Because of what I'm hearing from Sean and from the borough is that the design process is to find out what the barriers are within our community. Well, I'm like, that's fine. I think that's a great thing to do. But what does that have to do with us leasing the building through the borough? So it's either we're leasing the building through the borough or we're not, or we have to wait until AEI comes in and then the lease comes through if that's what we decide to do. So there's a different agenda that you're talking about. You are clumping it all together and it's not clumped together.
Yeah,
They're all separate entities. And I told you earlier in an email, one thing I did not want is our community to even start fighting with each other. We don't need it. We don't. We don't need folks get mad at Tawanda. Tawanda's doing what Tawanda does, and she's doing a great job. But now Tawanda's thrown in the mix as this person that until AEI comes in, which she is, the building doesn't come through. So what's that look like in our community? So that's what I was telling you. I don't want, we don't need that within a small community. We are trying to repair. We are trying to move forward. We are trying to grow. And all of the infighting over a building that is dusty and sat vacant for 4 years probably. And this is what it comes to, that we are doing in-house fighting. That's not what the objective is.
I don't think anybody's fighting Kitsy, and that's like, no one's fighting over as Councilor Mellon expressed, the idea of what ADI's role is in this, in partnership with the idea of what ADI's role in this, in partnership with the borough, is to make sure we're doing that community engagement so that when we're opening the use of that building, it's based on the input from the neighborhood and the community. That's the purpose. That was the purpose of ADI, and that's what we had discussed previously, and so that's what I was anticipating going forward, and then we're here tonight, and I was certainly not expecting this, 3 weeks ago when we had that, or maybe 4 weeks ago when we had that meeting. I thought we were walking out with an idea of what we were doing going ahead. So
We walked out if we could have agreed to May to August. Right, Susan?
Yes, if you wanted basically a seasonal lease, May through August.
Yes, but that's not what it is. Like I said, there's a lot of different things going on here.
I just asked the mayor if it was okay if I made a suggestion. So, for clarity, I have been heavily involved with the Learning Tree. I'm the founder. I'm no longer on the board or staff, but the Learning Tree is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm also part of the community. So I know what it is that I would like to see. I realize that I have to recuse myself from any vote, um, but I was just asking if I can make one little small suggestion. Keith, is it okay or no? Okay.
Keith, I just want to understand. There's no conflict. I mean, she's not part of the organization. There's no conflict of interest, right?
But
Yeah.
but my name is on some of the paperwork, which is why I felt like I would have to recuse
The
myself.
original paperwork, but you're not part of the organization now. So I
No,
mean, I just want to make sure before Stefani goes forward, there's not she's not in violation of the ethics act, right? Right. She can vote on any of this. She can proceed. Okay.
okay.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not going to speak on the ADI or any of that. I haven't been a part of those conversations at all. But I am questioning: is it whether if there's going to be a town hall? I mean, I think okay, that's great. Can they continue to use the building though, while there's plans being made for the town hall? I think that that's what they're asking. Like they want to still be able to use it because the town hall might happen. I don't know when the town hall is happening, but if it's next month or whatever, but there's things that they want to continue to do in there. And of course, they'll be over there for the garden. So my question is, can they still at least use the building as they've been using it until the town hall is done and there's been some decisions made?
That's absolutely yes. That's what
Okay.
the
Yes.
agreement was not
Okay.
only intended to do, but intended to enhance.
Okay.
Right. And if I may, so what we did early on, and essentially, Mayor, you endorsed it. You've been, very supportive behind the scenes. I've kept the mayor apprised, and he's been very, very supportive. And so when we first started to, okay, can the interior of the warehouse be used? I know that our solicitor, he quickly drafted with, again, with the endorsement of Mayor Schultz, those reservation forms that you would fill out to reserve this space. And then when we had our April 13th meeting, and there was the concern that, okay, we just need some assurance, if you're going to go through this, that you still can use the space. I know, Mayor, you suggested that priority use agreement because that would be that would take the place of the reservation form, basically, and that was new to us. We had never had that type of template, so we had to rely on Keith to pull that together. Where I think we're at right now is, the reservation form certainly can still be used. We actually have everything calendared for May. Kitsia, I can't remember if you put through June yet. I hold off because we thought we were going to have the priority use agreement executed. So there is still that method of that reservation form that Kitsy and Pam, they complete and provide it to us, and we put their information on the calendar. So uh, you know you have but if the priority use agreement would give you that additional assurance that we're going to call you if anybody else in the community wanted to use that building, that we would call you first and say, hey, Kitsy, somebody else wants to use it on such and such day. Are you planning to reserve it for that day? And if you say, no, it's going to be free, you know, then
We're still in it. Is that what I'm hearing? That's why I said, are you talking about the space, the whole space? That's why I came back to
you, Susan, and said about, well, then what about the office space that we have?
Right.
Can we just hold on to the office space? Because if you are just utilizing the space on the outside, okay.
Yeah.
But how are we supposed to present a presence within the community if we don't have anything that says we are actually in the building?
In the building.
Right.
And I think that's the, you know, that's the issue that we're trying to work through with Keith. And when I say we, the manager's office, Richard, me, and Keith, because once you stated you wanted that presence in that, in the office space, then it kind of deviated away from a license priority use agreement in in the legal world to a lease. So that's the, yeah, that's why we're where we're at. But you know, we're going to have leadership, meaning my leadership team, myself, is actually going to go through the ADI with the law school on June 1, and we anticipate after we go through that, I don't know, I'm looking at Twanda because I think there's certain words she doesn't like me to use, like training, or so anyway, but the thought was that we would come out of that more you can say that as and prepared to be able to have then the workshop session. I assume, and I think, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, you thought that it actually should be in the community itself, likely at the warehouse, right? To bring people there. So, you know, and I appreciate everything that you've helped us with that way as well. And to make sure that we were reaching out. I think you did, you did a wonderful job with your flyers and getting the word out tonight, Kitsy. And I think that's actually very similar to what council and we envisioned what that would look like. But, and it was going to be more of a workshop bringing the entire community in, correct?
I'm just gonna you because these are two separate offerings, right? And that's why the distinction was made at the April 13th meeting. If we wanted to do a workshop or a planning meeting with borough staff and leadership, that is one offering. If you want to do a broader sort of planning meeting with members from the community, that is an entirely different offering because of the number of people. So there's a lot of thought and intention that goes into this. And so that's why both options were offered at that time. We chose an option. So that's the option that we're going down. If we are pivoting from that option, since there's been a lack of clarity, I don't want it to ever be confused that June 1 would now be an opportunity for a larger offering, because that is a completely different piece.
Okay. I don't know where to go from here. So I'm looking for some input from council. Councilor Mel gave some input. I think there's a request for some form of a lease at this stage. Suggestion was that we do that community engagement component first. But if council wishes to do something different, that now's the opportunity to be heard on it.
Can we tide them over for a period of time in between?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do with the agreement. Yeah.
Make an agreement here and now to come back at a certain day and time to then hash out what maybe the rest of the summer looks like. If we invite them to the end of June and have okay, on June 15th or whatever, you all get together again, and so you can get from August 1st until, September 30th or whatever, and then you can decide then at a later date whether you want to increase the scope of what the borough can provide, or also reevaluate what your needs are and what your use has been like over the summer, to also then not necessarily show us your proof, but to demonstrate to us that this has been a valuable asset to the community from May and June and July. So I haven't seen the agreement, so I'm not necessarily, now correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm hearing, it seems as though there is a misinterpretation of what the agreement says. And whether or not it says 1 day, or if it says you can have as many days as you want as long as you reserve them, which I think is what the agreement says.
Right, and I submitted that, but that was not.
So again, I haven't seen the agreement, nor have I seen the communication that you've had either with Sean, Susan, Richard, or Keith, or anyone. So this is just what again, we were talking about what people are hearing. This is what I'm hearing. And so I would like to see what the priority agreement says so that I can be on the same page as to you saying it's 1 day and us saying, no, it's as many days as you would like as long as you tell us, which I believe is what the agreement says. But again, I haven't seen it. No one has seen it. Only you have, Keith, Susan, I guess. But we're operating on information that we're hearing right now in this moment. And so I'm hesitant to say just give them the building, because I don't know any more background than what I'm hearing right now. And I want to be generous to you and to the community. And I think also the ADI component is to keep the borough in check, because the borough has done some terrible things to people. Your community, I'm Asian, my community, the Native American community across the way. ADI is to make sure that we are doing you guys the respect that you deserve in having this space, and to make sure that we're not messing it up again, because we've done that before. So again, as a facilitator and as a way to make sure that we are doing you right, okay? So but if you're also saying that the incorporation of ADI in this process is a no-go, and that you don't want them involved, then we need to have a further conversation about that, because the ADI is, again, to make sure that we are doing this community, the community of Carlisle, the best that we can do for them. So is there a way, again, that we can make them whole for the rest of May and for June, to give everybody some time and some space to read what the agreement has to say, and that we can come back as a council to then approve whatever, or we very rarely disapprove, but to approve whatever is brought to us at the July meeting, that then takes you further down the road than just this stopgap measure of a month and a half.
I said that from the beginning.
Is that copacetic?
I said that from the beginning.
Okay, but I haven't been privy to those conversations.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to help you get to a little further down the road so that we can all be in agreement to help you get even further down the road. Again, all of us are operating without having all the information in front of us. And so I understand there's a lot of passion here, and we want you to have as much as you can have to do what you want to do, because we're all on the same team. And so we're just trying to make you whole bit so that we can give you the whole pie later on, or to give you a pie that is more sufficient or more fulfilling. I know that it's not going to be fulfilling right now, but if we can take 2 bites with the promise of getting a whole slice, in a month and a half, then let's have that conversation. Is that cool? Is that something that we can do? I don't know.
I have two questions for maybe Keith regarding the priority use, or Sean, if you want to answer this, regarding the priority use agreement. I guess the first one is, can the Learning Tree, assuming since we're checking with them anytime anybody else would want to use the building, assuming somebody would even want to use the building at this point, they could just say no, right? Is that like every time?
If someone wants to use the building,
Yes.
they'll check first with the Learning Tree.
Okay.
If the Learning Tree wants to use it at that time, the answer is no. And
Okay.
staff will assist the requester in trying to find another suitable time to use the building.
Okay.
That's the really, I'll say, right of first refusal. That's how I had drafted it.
Okay. And then I guess the other question I had with the priority use agreement, was there a time frame in which we were expecting to have that for? Or no? Okay. It's just sort of indefinitely. Is that okay?
So, I mean, again, as Councilor Roos said, this is kind of the first that most of us up here are hearing of this. From what I'm understanding of the priority use agreement is that it was intended to be the stopgap to get us further down the road until we get to the lease. And that there seems to be some understanding among those in the audience that we kind of did a bait and switch and we're giving you this instead of a lease. And what we're trying to do is just get us down the road, as Councilor Ruth suggested. So I would be in favor of us bringing up the priority use agreement at the next meeting, if that is acceptable to you as the stopgap till we keep moving forward. And we're not saying a lease is never going to happen. We're saying we need a little bit more time to work that out while we do the community engagement that we have asked for. Is that what? That's my understanding.
That's what I've been saying all along. Yeah, that's right. Is there any other input on this? We've been at it for 2 hours, just about. So there's nothing to vote on. There's nothing on the agenda. So we don't have that.
I just want to clarify that the priority usage agreement isn't going to be the same priority usage agreement that was presented originally. So I think what Kitsy has expressed is that she does not want the priority usage agreement that was shared with her prior to this meeting and that was removed from the agenda for this meeting. She wants the opportunity to give feedback on that priority usage agreement before it's approved at the June meeting. And if that is amenable, then what I would suggest is that Kitsy schedule out for the rest of the month of May and the rest of the month of June, or at least up until the Borough Council meeting, for all of the days that you would be requesting until the priority usage agreement with your input is taken into consideration.
Right. That's
okay.
The draft was sent out, Susan. It's spacing out. I'm sorry. The draft was sent. I forget when the draft was sent out. So Kitsy has the Word document.
Right. It was sent to Kitsy and the Learning Tree board, and I can't remember what day that was. Kitsy, that was last week.
It's last week sometime. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Kitsy, you have that to be able to whatever revisions you're requesting to get back to us then. And then we can act on that on June 3rd, I think is our meeting. Okay. All right, we have direction. And Kitsy, you have my cell phone number. If there's I mean, we've talked to each other before. We can still talk to each other. If there's any frustration, confusion, you think you're thinking one thing and you think we're thinking something else, let's talk about it, right? Okay, all right, thank you. And thank you everybody for coming out for this, appreciate it. Is there any other public comment before I close? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. This is a list of routine items which do not appear to be controversial in nature and which probably do not require additional discussion. They can be acted on by one motion in their current form. If discussion is desired on any particular item, any member of council or the public may request the item be removed from the consent agenda, and that item will be considered separately. Is anybody requesting an item be removed? So no one, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Mellon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Perry. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. That approves everything through page 3, and we'll move on to page 4, the regular agenda. There are no table continued or recurring items. Under the mayor's report, there was some discussion about having one meeting a month over the summer. We have tended over the last several years to have sort of lighter agendas over the summer, and we've been canceling some workshops and meetings otherwise. So, in discussion with the borough manager, I thought we ought to just consolidate that. The idea would be that we would have our June workshop meeting, June 3rd, when we would hopefully be reconsidering the agreement that we just discussed. Would be our sole meeting in June, and then I think the July and August meetings we're intending to make things easier for alignment with Harb's schedule and approvals, that we'd have that at our regular council meeting dates. Is that all agreeable to everybody? Okay. I don't think we need to advertise anything, given that we would just be canceling meetings. So we don't need any action on this item. Okay. All right. We have consensus on that. Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I jump right over the report?
Too. I mean, since we were going through the agenda, I think it kind of got missed. Jeez.
Oh, it was all okay.
Yeah.
I missed that. I'm
go
sorry.
through the agenda, maybe give them an opportunity if you want
I missed that. I'm taking my glasses
the
off.
whole time.
We're gonna hold you off until 10 o'clock, Jason, and then we'll let you go. Yeah, we're going to go into budget and finance, so that's. But Jason, you'll be our segue into budget and finance. So why don't you take the floor and you give us our update? Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of Borough Council. What we have for you this evening is a snapshot of the financial performance of the borough's major operating funds as of the end of the third quarter of the year. Of the first quarter of the year. So we will start with the general fund. The general fund is the borough's largest fund, responsible for all the primary local government functions such as public safety, recreation, transportation, and land use. So with respect to expenses, performance is consistent with expectations, and that is noted with the confidence of the percentage of budget being in line with average first quarter expenses over years past. Although we are seeing an increase in salaries, wages, and benefits as a result of filling several vacant general fund positions over the course of 25, and also an increase in supply services and utilities related to increased electricity costs, increased consulting and computer service expenses as compared to 2025. In total, those expenses are still within budgeted expectations. With respect to general fund revenue, as you know, the property tax bills are issued at the beginning of March, so not much revenue is anticipated or collected in the first quarter, and as that is the largest funding source for the general fund, a net loss is anticipated in the first quarter typically. With respect to other revenues, you'll notice a change in all of our funds with respect to the fact that in October of 2025, we did change our process for accounting for payroll activity with respect to that new software. So the new process results in us no longer recording the employees' contributions for insurances as revenue, and that change reflects accordingly in this category. In the first quarter of 2026, we received less revenue in the charges for services categories than we did in 2025, because in 2025 we received numerous restitution, insurance claim, and disability reimbursement payments in the first quarter, and as those issues have been closed, that activity does not exist for 2026. Regarding interest and rents, based upon the assignment of the committed projects funding to the capital projects fund, With moving that money over, the interest is less than it was in the first quarter of 2025, and instead the capital projects fund is now realizing that interest revenue. And lastly, with respect to the intergovernmental revenue category, that simply reflects a variance in the frequency with which we receive grant funds into the general fund. And next we'll move on to the enterprise funds. First, we will start with the water fund. As a result of filling vacant positions and updating budget allocations in order to better reflect the work performed by our borough employees, the salaries, wages, and benefits in the water fund are trending upward over time, although are slightly less than they were at the end of the first quarter as of 2025. Also, supply services and utilities are up year over year, largely due to increases in chemical and electricity costs, in addition to increased expenses for solid waste removal. As you may remember, in 2025, Council approved a long-term electricity generation contract that reflected increased rates as compared to prior agreements due to market conditions. And given the electricity requirements for plant operations, this is a significant expense in the water fund. However, overall expenses are still in line with budgeted expectations. With respect to revenue, we have realized an increase in charges for services over 2025, and that is due to the 2025 rate increase, which actually took effect in May of 2025 and therefore did not impact the first quarter of 2025, and now we're realizing that difference. The reduction in other revenue is a result of the same accounting change noted for the general fund with respect to no longer recognizing employee insurance contributions as revenue. And also we are seeing a reduction in interest earned as a result of our intentional spending down of bond funds on capital projects. For the sewer fund, with respect to salaries, wages, and benefits, again, as a result of filling vacant positions and updating our budget allocations to reflect the work performed, we are seeing those trend upward over time, but as is the case with water, slightly less than they were in 2025. Also, as is in the case with water, supply services and utilities are up year over year due to increases in chemical and electricity costs, and again, due to the significant electricity requirements. In addition, there are some building maintenance expenses for the wastewater treatment filter and sludge buildings that we incurred in 2026. Capital project expenses are currently lesser than they were at the end of the first quarter of 2025, and that is due to the pacing of budgeted projects. Regarding revenue, although we saw a decrease in charges for services as of the end of the first quarter, we do anticipate that this will equalize over the course of the second quarter when we have the opportunity to reflect tapping fee activity revenue in addition to sales for consumption. Once again, the sewer fund is experiencing the same reduction in other revenues due to an internal accounting change. And finally, we're seeing a reduction in earned interest as a result of our intentional spending down of bond funds on planned capital projects. For the stormwater fund, with respect to expenses, as a result of filling the vacant positions, including the floodplain and MS4 coordinator position in June of 2025, and continuing to refine budget allocations to better reflect the tasks performed by borough employees, salaries, wages, and benefits are trending upward over time and year over year. Both supplies, services, and utilities and capital expenditure categories are down due to project pacing, and as the increased prices of commodities affecting other funds are not really applicable to stormwater operations, they don't have much bearing in that sense. Regarding revenue, revenue is very much in line with budgeted expectations, although interest revenue is down, again, due to intentional spending down of bond funds on planned capital projects in 2025. Regarding the solid waste fund, as you probably remember, beginning in 2023, the solid waste fund functionality was changed to more of a pass-through fund for collecting and remitting trash and recycling fees to the borough's solid waste provider, in addition to recognizing recycling grant and interest revenue. For revenue, we are recognizing an increase in charges for service, and that is a result of the increased fees being charged to the borough as a result of the existing provider's contract terms. Revenues for license and permits have been reduced to zero in 2026, and that is due to the general fund absorbing the function of issuing compost facility permits and recognizing that revenue, which is the same case with respect to other revenue in regards to the sale of recycling containers. And our intergovernmental revenue is recognizing the receipt of recycling performance grants issued by the Commonwealth. However, that has been fluctuating due to the delayed release of those grants. The last fund that we'll touch on is the parking fund. So with respect to expenses, we are seeing a slight increase in supply services and utilities as a result of electric vehicle maintenance, and an increase in wages and benefits due to filling a part-time enforcement position, as well as reallocating a portion of SCEP employees' salaries to the parking fund in order to accurately reflect the work that they're doing on behalf of that fund. With that said, our total expenses are in line with budgeted expectations. And with respect to revenue, charges for service, which is primarily meter and garage revenue, is up year over year, and that is despite having a period of modified parking restrictions and enforcement resulting from the winter storm in January. And with respect to fines and forfeits, those are also up, corresponding with increased enforcement initiatives, and that too is despite the modified enforcement in January and February as a result of the snowstorm. One final point with respect to parking, I thought everyone might be interested in some metrics with respect to downtown parking transactions. I did just want to update you that as of the out of the 30,201 kiosk-related transactions that took place in the first quarter of 2026, 26% of those transactions were initiated at the kiosk with a card, 35% were initiated at the kiosk payment by coin, 13% were initiated through the app, and 25% were paid with the pay by text function. And the final slide is simply a summary of everything that we've discussed this evening. If you have that.
Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sorry you had to wait so long to get there.
Not at all.
Okay. Any questions for Jason? Okay. Thanks. All right. Then we'll move on to reports from committees, budget, finance.
I make a request, or I move. It's been a long night, and I got a headache. I have a headache. I make a motion for Borough Council to approve a contract with Butts Ticket Solutions for the provision of electronic payment processing, software provision, and administrative software access through Park Mobile, subject to the Borough Solicitor's satisfactory review and approval.
Deputy Mayor makes a motion to approve the contract with Butts Ticket Solutions for the provision of electronic payment processing, software provision, administrative software access through Park Mobile, subject to the solicitor's satisfactory review and approval. And I'm forgetting, am I your co-chair? I can't remember who the co-chair is.
Second.
You're the co-chair. Okay. It's been a long night. Oh, I'm totally with you on that. So, second by Councilor James. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion carries.
And that concludes my report for today.
Thank you. ERCP.
Good afternoon. I move that the Borough Council may appoint a Miss Caroline Kleiner to a partial term on the Carlisle Borough Civil Service Commission as the second alternative, effective immediately and expiring on July 31st, 2027.
Council James makes a motion to appoint Carolyn Kleiner to partial term on the Civil Service Commission with term expiring July 31st, 2027, effective immediately. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Bruce. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 items on my report this evening. Ms. James said this afternoon. And I was like, that's so long. I know. My first item is I make a motion that Borough Council may enter into an engineering services contract with GFT Incorporated to complete surveying work along with preliminary design work for improvements at the Thornwald Park Amphitheater for improved accessibility, increase pedestrian safety, and enhanced access to its surrounding parking areas and trails for a not to exceed cost of $22,300, subject to the borough solicitor's satisfactory review of the contract.
Council Roos makes a motion to enter into an engineering services contract with GFT to complete surveying work along with preliminary design work for improvements at Thornwall Park Amphitheater for improved accessibility, increased pedestrian safety, and enhanced access to its surrounding parking areas and trails for not to exceed cost of $22,300, subject to the solicitor's satisfactory review. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Stube. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
Thank you. And my last item today is that I make a motion that the Borough Council may authorize Mayor Schultz as a signatory for a grant agreement in the amount of $25,000 received for the Carlisle Borough Comprehensive Recreation, Park, and Open Space Plan under the Cumberland County Land Partnerships Grant Program.
Council Roos makes a motion to authorize me as signatory for a grant agreement in the amount of $25,000 received for our comprehensive recreation park and open space plan under the Cumberland County Land Partnerships Grant Program. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Stube. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
That concludes my report.
Under public safety, I move the council adopt an ordinance amending the code of the Borough of Carlisle adopted by ordinance 2032 and thereafter amended with respect to chapter 244 vehicles and traffic to add one on-street handicap parking space at 134 West Penn Street. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mellon. I'll call the question. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. James.
Aye.
Ms. Mellon.
Aye.
Ms. Perry.
Aye.
Ms. Roos.
Aye.
Mr. Child.
Aye.
Mr. Stubbe.
Aye.
Mayor Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. That concludes my report. Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have only 2 items tonight. I move first that council enter into an engineering services contract with GFT Inc. to complete surveying work, infiltration testing, and final design of a green stormwater infrastructure project within Thornwall Park as identified in the borough's stormwater master plan for a not to exceed cost of $60,000, subject to the borough solicitor's review and approval of the contract.
Councilor Mellon makes a motion to enter into an engineering services contract with GFT Inc. to complete surveying work, infiltration testing, and final design of green stormwater infrastructure projects within Thornwall Park as identified in the borough's stormwater master plan for not to exceed cost of $60,600, subject to the borough solicitor's review and approval of the contract. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Shiles. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
And last, I move the council approve a unit price contract with Alpha Space Control LLC of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania for the CapCog 2026-2027 line painting contract for an amount not to exceed $25,000.
Councilor Mellon makes a motion to approve a unit price contract with Alpha Space Control LLC of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania for the CapCog 2026-2027 line painting contract for an amount not to exceed $25,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Shiles. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Councilor Mellon. Sustainable Community and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have one item on my agenda for tonight, and that is that I make a motion that Borough Council may grant the requested waivers and approve the preliminary final subdivision plan for Point at Carlisle Plaza, subject to the applicant's acceptance and satisfactory resolution of the conditions listed herein.
Councilor Shiles makes a motion to grant the requested waivers and approve preliminary final subdivision plan, Point Carlisle Plaza, subject to the applicant's acceptance and satisfactory resolution conditions listed therein. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Perry. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The motion carries. There is no new business, but it's another opportunity for the public to be heard on any matter of borough government. Would anybody like to be heard any further? Okay. Anybody by Zoom? Nope. Okay. Then we'll move on to reports from council members and staff. Councilor Riss.
I only have one brief thing. The pool is opening, not this weekend, but next weekend. So come on out. It might be a little chilly, but get those towels ready. It's going to be a great season.
Councilor Mullen, Councilor Stubbe, Deputy Mayor, Councilor Shiles.
Two things, well, actually three, bike related. So I guess Saturday, 9 a.m. Here outside Borough Hall, we'll be doing Bike with the Councilman. I'll be one of the councilmen. If anybody else would like to join, can't have a quorum, but we'll be riding around the borough and looking at various locations as where we'll be installing new infrastructure soon. So and also just sort of looking at the infrastructure we do have. Talking about it. There'll also be the Ride of Silence in Harrisburg on May 20th, next week. And there's one more thing I forgot, but maybe I'll look back around.
You know, update us later. Councilor James.
Just to reiterate some of the citizen comments we received today, friendly reminder for anyone here or watching that there's an election coming up next week on May 19th. And if you don't exercise your rights, you lose them. So please make a plan to vote.
Okay. I'll just note that I think Amani kicked off really well. Once again, they're getting, I think back on their feet. It was another successful celebration of unity here in the borough. And of course, we have a Memorial Day parade coming up and commemorations of the fallen, including at you're leaning in. That's okay. Including at Lincoln Cemetery. So tune in for more on that. Were you leaning in there, Andrea? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that on Saturday, Parks and Rec is hosting our first movie in the park as part of the end of our bike week event. It'll be at 8 o'clock at Valley Meadows Park, and we are showing E.T.
I was going to ask if it was E.T.
Yeah, it's E.T. So
Mitch hasn't figured out how to make that happen on any of his bikes yet, but
yeah. So if anyone's available, that's where it will be, and that's what we're showing.
Thank you, Andrea.
Yep.
Thank you.
I did remember what the other thing I wanted to say was Ross Willard passed away, I believe, a week and a half ago. If you aren't familiar with him, he's the gentleman who founded Recycle Bicycle in Harrisburg.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an essential part of the bicycle community in central Pennsylvania, and especially Harrisburg. So I just kind of wanted to give a heartfelt shout out to him and his family. So.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't aware of that. Ross, actually, I hadn't met him until I was at a HATS meeting trying to get the funding for the connectivity project, and we had a good chat afterwards. I'm very, very sorry to hear that. Thank you for letting us know. On that somber note, I'm sorry, Borough Manager, anything to add? Okay, all right, then we are adjourned. Thank you.